You ever check your credit score and just sigh? Like you're doing everything right. You pay your bills on time, you don't max out your cards, you're trying, honestly trying to be financially responsible, and yet your credit score is just sitting there, barely moving, maybe even dropping for reasons that feel completely mysterious. Meanwhile, you hear stories, maybe from a friend, maybe from some random Reddit thread at 2:17 a.m., about people whose scores jump 50, 80, sometimes even 100 points almost overnight. And you're sitting there thinking, wait, what? My name is Sarah, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, credit psychology, and the weird little quirks baked into the financial system, especially the ones that quietly reward people who understand the rules, while everyone else is still playing the game the hard way. Because there is a kind of a loophole. Not illegal, not shady, well, unless you use it the wrong way, but definitely one of those financial mechanics that makes you stop and go, nobody really explained that clearly. Today we're talking about authorized users and why this simple move can sometimes boost credit scores way faster than people expect, and more importantly, when it works, when it doesn't, and how to use it without accidentally hurting yourself. Because honestly, this one catches a lot of people off guard. Section 1. The credit score frustration nobody talks about. Here's the quiet truth about credit scores that most people eventually discover the hard way. Time matters. A lot. Credit scoring models, especially FICO, are obsessed with history. Length of credit history, age of accounts, years of on-time payments. It's basically like the system is standing there with its arms crossed saying, "Cool, but where's your track record?" And this is where people, especially younger adults or anyone new to credit, run into a wall. Because think about it, you could be perfectly responsible today, but if your credit history is thin, the system still treats you like a question mark. I remember talking to a friend a few years back, super responsible guy, paid everything early, barely used his credit card, thought he was doing everything right. Score? Low 600s. And he was genuinely confused, like offended confused, because nobody tells you this early on. Being good with credit isn't just about behavior, it's about history. And that's exactly where authorized users enter the picture. Section 2. What an authorized user actually is. Plain English version. Okay, so let's strip away the financial jargon for a second. An authorized user is basically someone who gets added to another person's credit card account. That's it. You're not the primary cardholder, you're not legally responsible for the debt in most cases, you're just attached to the account. But, and this is the part that makes people lean forward a little, when done correctly, the entire history of that credit card can appear on the authorized user's credit report. Yeah, years of payment history, credit limit, utilization patterns, all of it. It's kind of like being added to a group project where someone else already did most of the work. Now, and please hear me on this, it does not always work the same way for every scoring model or every lender, but when it works well, it can move the needle surprisingly fast. Section 3. Why this loophole actually works. So why does the system even allow this? Honestly, because authorized users were originally designed for something completely normal and boring. Families, spouses, parents helping kids build credit. That's the intended use. Credit scoring models were built to recognize that shared financial relationships often indicate trust and stability. So when you're added to a well-managed, long-standing account, the model often says, okay, this person now has exposure to positive credit behavior, and your score may respond accordingly. But here's where things get interesting, and where people sometimes get into trouble. Because the system isn't psychic, it doesn't know whether you're a teenager added to your parents' card, a spouse sharing finances, or someone who paid a stranger online to be added. Yes, people do that. It just sees the data and reacts. Section 4. A realistic example, because this is where it clicks. Imagine Sarah. Sarah is 24, just started building credit. She has one credit card, $1,000 limit, about 8 months of history, score around 645. She's doing everything right, but progress is slow. Now her mom, who has a credit card with $20,000 limit, 12 years of perfect payment history, very low utilization, adds Sarah as an authorized user. Within a couple reporting cycles, Sarah's credit profile suddenly looks very different. Her average age of accounts increases, her total available credit jumps, her utilization ratio improves, and sometimes, not always, but often, her score rises. Not because she gamed the system, not because anything illegal happened, but because the credit model now sees her connected to a strong, established account. That's the mechanics behind the so-called loophole. Section 5. When this strategy works best. All right, this is where we need to slow down and be very honest, because authorized user boosts are not guaranteed. They work best under specific conditions. First, the primary card must have excellent history. We're talking long age, perfect payment record, low balance relative to limit. If the main account is messy, guess what? You inherit the mess. Second, utilization matters more than people think. If someone adds you to a card that's constantly at 90% usage, your score might actually drop. Yeah, that part surprises people. Third, not all scoring models weigh authorized user accounts equally. Some newer models and some lenders discount them partially because, well, the system caught on to people trying to game it. So think of this less like a magic switch and more like a strategic assist. Section 6. When this strategy backfires, and it absolutely can. Okay, small reality check moment, because this is where YouTube videos sometimes get a little too optimistic. Being added as an authorized user can hurt you if the primary cardholder isn't responsible. Late payments? They show up. High balances? They show up. Maxed out cards? Yep, those too. I've seen situations, and honestly, they're more common than people admit, where someone gets added thinking they're helping their credit and their score drops 30 points. Instant regret. So before anyone even considers this move, there's one uncomfortable but very necessary question. Do you completely trust the primary cardholder's habits? Not their intentions, their habits. Because credit scores don't care about good intentions, they care about patterns. Section 7. The ethical gray area nobody mentions. All right, quick aside, because we should talk about the elephant in the room. There's an entire underground market where people pay to be added as authorized users to strangers' credit cards. Yeah, it exists, and technically it's not illegal in many cases, but lenders are increasingly aware of it. Some scoring models attempt to filter out suspicious authorized user relationships, and some lenders manually review applications and discount these boosts entirely. So if you're thinking about going that route, and hey, I get why it's tempting, just understand this strategy works best inside genuine financial relationships, family, partners, people who actually share financial trust. The further you drift from that, the less reliable the outcome becomes. Section 8. Smart ways to use authorized user status. If you're going to use this strategy, and honestly, it can be helpful when done right, here's the calm, boring, responsible way to think about it. First, treat it as a credit-building supplement, not the whole plan. You still need your own primary accounts eventually. Lenders like to see independent history. Second, monitor the account regularly. If the primary cardholder suddenly starts carrying high balances, you may want to remove yourself. Yes, you can usually be removed. Third, keep your expectations realistic. Sometimes scores jump quickly. Sometimes they barely move. Sometimes they fluctuate before stabilizing. Credit is annoyingly non-linear. And honestly, that unpredictability is what frustrates people the most. Conclusion. So here's the quiet truth about authorized users. It's not really a loophole in the sneaky hacker movie sense. It's more like an overlooked feature of how credit scoring evolved. Originally built for families, still useful today, but very easy to misunderstand. If you remember nothing else from this conversation, and yeah, I know we covered a lot, remember this.
Authorized user status can help your credit profile, but only when the underlying account is strong, only when the relationship is trustworthy, and only when you're also building your own credit foundation at the same time. Because the people who win the long game with credit are usually not the ones looking for one clever trick. They're the ones quietly stacking good habits year after year. Boring payments, low balances, steady history. Not flashy, not viral, but incredibly effective. And honestly, if your credit journey has felt slow or frustrating lately, that doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. Sometimes the system just takes time to notice consistency. But now you know one of the mechanics working behind the scenes. Use it wisely, stay patient, and keep building. Because small, smart financial moves, the quiet ones nobody brags about, tend